Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about what bets you should make for the UFC coming up this weekend. Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. We got prelims, we have main cards, so strap in. It's gonna be a longer video. Make sure you subscribe if you are not subscribed already. And you guys that are always coming back to these videos, make sure you're smashing that thumbs up button. It helps the channel so much. Also, if you choose not to watch the entire video, please make sure you're at least hitting that thumbs up button and sharing the video. Stopping the video midway through or watching 2 minutes of it hurts the algorithm a lot for YouTube, and it doesn't push the video out even more. I understand it's a pain sometimes. I understand people don't like it at a certain point. I do get it, but please make sure you do one of those two things. As always, let's jump right into it. So, JJ Aldrich versus Montana De La Rosa. I like De La Rosa in this fight a lot. She's a minus 146 favorite. I believe she's stepping in on short notice. It was supposed to be somebody else. I can't remember who it was. Supposed to be, but I like Montana De La Rosa as a minus 146 favorite. I wish she was a bit of an underdog. I think that would be a bit of a steal. I for surely think this fight goes to the distance. So odds for it right now are not up on FanDuel, which is what I always use. But I like Montana De La Rosa to go the distance. Not inside the distance, but to go the distance. I like her a lot in that fight. I don't really see her finishing JJ Aldrich just because she's not a big finisher. She doesn't have big power. She's not like an Aaron Blanchfield grappler. But I do like her to win outside the distance, or Jesus Christ, to go the distance, whatever that word is. Next, we have Nate Maness versus Matías Mendoza. Again, I really wish more of the odds were up, but of course they're not. Nate Maness is a plus 200 underdog. I like his striking a lot, but the issue with him in this particular matchup is Matías is not a grappler really, but he has really good striking, but he's faster than Nate. He also hits a little bit harder than Nate. And I think his kicks, because he does kick a little bit more than Nate does, which Nate doesn't really kick at all, I really like Matías Mendoza in this fight at minus 265. If I were you guys, I would definitely do like a double chance from FanDuel, like, you know, whichever one is more, but make sure points are in it. So if submission and points is more than TKO or KO with points is more, pick whichever one is more of an underdog. But that one for surely, I think, goes the distance. I don't see Nate getting finished on the feet. He has been finished before with body shots, but I like Matías Mendoza in that fight to go the distance. Next is Vanessa Demopoulos versus Kanoka Murata. Murata is a minus 390 favorite. Vanessa is a plus 280. I like Murata in this one. I actually think she gets a finish. Could see the fight going to the distance, but I do like Murata to go the distance. Next, we have Johnny Munoz versus Orichi Lang. I think it's Orichi Lang. Johnny Munoz, I think, wins this fight. I don't like the cardio of Orichi Lang after that first round, about a round and a half into, total of the fight. I think the back half of the second into the third round, Munoz is going to be getting them down to the ground later in the fight, and I think he actually could get a submission. Again, I really wish the more of the odds were out, but again, it doesn't mean much of a difference because, again, I like submission or points by Johnny Munoz. This fight, I don't think goes the distance, but again, to cover yourself, do inside the distance or do a double chance of submission or points for Johnny Munoz. And then Chris Gutierrez is not on this card anymore, which really sucks. Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Diana Belbita. I think Karolina Kowalkiewicz wins this fight. Deanna, I think it's Deanna Belbita. I do believe she is the longer fighter, but I like Carolina's aggression. I like her striking, especially if she's able to lead the dance. Her takedown game is pretty good. I don't think it's great, but I do think it is good, and I think she edges out a 29-28 decision. I think that fight goes to decision as well. And then you got the main card, which I do think is really, really good main card. Alexander Hernandez versus Bill Algeo. Alexander Hernandez is a plus 114 underdog. I like Alexander Hernandez in this one. I think his movement, his speed, the way he's able to put combinations together, and he does have some sneaky power. I think Bill Algeo is going to be targeting that body with his teeps that he always uses, his leg kicks, his long jab. But I like Alexander Hernandez to be able to mix in the wrestling a little bit, keep Bill Algeo coming to him, and I think the movement and the snappy power from Hernandez wins him this fight. I don't think there's actually going to be a finish on this one. I think Hernandez by TKO or KO, 2 points, double chance again on FanDuel, is the bet to be made. Again, I don't think there could be a finish, but I would see more of a striking finish than a submission finish from Hernandez. I like Hernandez a lot in this fight, especially as an underdog. Next, we got Felipe Lins versus Ian Cutelaba. Felipe Lins actually recently came out and said he's going to do his talking with his fists. So expect Felipe Lins to go be very aggressive against Ian Cutelaba. And I think early that actually hurts Lins. I think Lins needs to be trying to grab Ian and, wear on him, lay on him, wear him down after that first round, because he tends to get a lot worse than he already is, especially after that first round. I actually think Ian Cutelaba beats Lins in the first, but as a plus 114 underdog for Felipe Lins to get a finish or points, double chance again, is typically what I use on FanDuel. I actually like that. That's a pretty good bet. But for a first round finish for Ian Cutelaba is another bet, because he's very good in that first round. Is also another really, really good bet. I could see either one of those. I think Ian Cutelaba wins this fight in the first, but if it goes past that first round, I could see Lins pulling away. Next, you got Drew Dober versus Ricky Glenn. I really wish these freaking odds would be out already, but Ricky Glenn is a plus 360 underdog. There's a true reason for that. I do think Glenn is better on the ground than Dober, but I think Dober is going to be so strong, and unless Dober's chin is completely cracked from Matt Frivola, which he wasn't completely out, I do think that fight was a bit prematurely stopped, because we've seen Dober be dropped 6-7 times before. Maybe not that quiet, but Terrence McKinney was dropping him left and right, and the referee wasn't really even looking to stop that fight. So I don't think Ricky Glenn necessarily has the power to stop him. I don't think he has the accolades to hurt him, really. I do think if he somehow could get him down to the ground, which would be his only chance. So maybe sprinkling in a Ricky Glenn submission wouldn't be the worst idea. But I like Drew Dober. I think Drew Dober's power, his speed, his footwork, his pressure, his good takedown defense stylistically, unless you're a really, really good wrestler, which Ricky Glenn's not really that type of guy. I know he has some submission finishes. I know that, but still. Drew Dober low to the ground, it's going to be a little bit harder to get him down, especially if Drew can stay off the cage. Ricky Glenn's going to have a really hard time of getting him down to the ground. But I like Drew Dober by finish. I don't see this fight going the distance, so I like Drew Dober by TKO or KO, and another bet is inside the distance, which is a round and a half. Or you could also do Drew Dober with the first round KO. I can see Drew Dober get a KO in the third minute of the first round. I can see him winning at any point in that first round, or I can see him beating up Ricky Glenn and then inside the distance getting a finish. I like Drew Dober a lot in this one. It sucks he's a minus 530, but still there's some bets in there to be made. And then you have Alex Morono versus Joaquin Buckley. I like Buckley to win this fight. I think his power is going to be a little bit too much for Alex Morono, but a bet people could do on this one is Morono's really good at hurting guys later in fights and then finding that guillotine. His guillotine is his favorite submission, and he has found it a couple of times. And he does have a big looping, I think, right hand. He caught Cowboy with it. He caught, I think, David Zawada with it. He beat him up on the ground, hurt not Sage Northcutt. That's David Zawada. Not Zawada. What's his name? It's the guy that Sage beat after getting hurt. He finished him with ground and pound. I can't remember his freaking name now. Either way, though, I think Buckley wins this. But realistically, no, that's not correct. But either way, I could see Morono hurting Buckley at some point in this fight. Buckley throws way too wide, leaves himself open for counters, and his aggressive style sometimes later in fights, he telegraphs a lot of actions. So unless he can fix that in this fight, I could see Morono hurting him and then submitting him. I do think Buckley wins this fight. But there's some really good bets to place on Morono, like submission to points, second or third round submission. There's a lot of stuff that you guys could put on there to win some money, because there's going to be some good bets to be made. And then we have Joe Pyfer versus Abdul Razik Al Hassan. I think Joe Pyfer wins this fight because of his speed. I think the speed causes Abdul a lot of issues, and he just leaves himself open a little bit too much with leg kicks, counters. But people saying Abdul has zero shot in this fight is just wild. Al Hassan has the type of power if he touches you, and Joe Pyfer tends to come in on a straight line, exit on a straight line, move side to side, keeps his head right there. There's not a lot of movement. He's good with movement as to with his combinations to decide where he wants to throw. His placement of punches are very nice. But to say Abdul Razak Al Hassan is no chance is just wild to me. I do think Pyfer wins because of the speed, like I said, but I think Pyfer could win a decision. Now, do I think it's impossible for Pyfer to finish Al Hassan? No, but Al Hassan's only been finished by one person, and that's Chaos Williams. At a plus 340 underdog for Al Hassan, I could see Al Hassan catching him, in the second or the third round with his crazy power. That's not a bad bet to throw like $1 on or $1.50 to win some really good money. Like, it's a plus 340. You do like $1, you win $3.40. Obviously, it's $3.40, but again, $5, you win $17. There's some really, really good bets with that. Joe Pyfer, you're gonna have to place a little bit more money on him. Like $10 will get you $2, which will earn you $12 or whatever. But you're gonna have to place more on Pyfer to win, so you're gonna want to stack it with something. But again, Pyfer to go the distance, I definitely could see. I don't really see him finishing Al Hassan. Not that it's impossible. I just think Al Hassan is going to try to close that distance a little bit. And again, with Pyfer standing straight up like he does in his fights, no one has successfully exposed that yet. But he does stand straight up. He does move in and on the center line. He doesn't get off the center line very much. I could see Al Hassan finishing him and bringing that hype down a little bit. And it wouldn't be the worst lesson either for him to learn. Next, we got Grant Dawson, and of course, the freaking odds are here, so this one's going to be a lot of fun. Grant Dawson is a minus 440 favorite. Bobby Green's a plus 310. Again, I think Grant Dawson wins this fight, but I think he wins this fight later in the fight, in the fourth and the fifth, because of the wrestling, the grappling. Even if he can't get Bobby down, I think he stays sticky on him, and he just makes him work and time runs out. I think if this was a 3-round fight, realistically, I could see Bobby Green winning this fight because his counter ability, he's very good at moving backwards. His movement's really good. His takedown defense historically has been great at 74%. There's only been one person to ever dominate him with grappling, and that's Islam Makhachev, who he took that fight on 4 days notice, 6 days notice, something like that. But will the fight go the distance? I think the fight goes the distance at plus 180. I think it's a little crazy. To say this fight doesn't go the distance is a little crazy to me, but okay, sure. But like a double chance, you could do Grant Dawson. They actually think it's a submission or on points. It's a minus 230, so you could do KO, TKO, or on points just to give yourself a little bit more. But Bobby Green by KO, TKO, or on points is a plus 370. I like that. I think that's really, really good. But if Bobby Green wins, it's going to be, I think, personally, it would be like a TKO or KO. But you could do Bobby Green to win by KO, TKO in rounds 2, 3, and 4. It's a plus 1100. You could also do submissions. Grant Dawson, that's probably how he would win, is with this submissions. Again, there's a lot here you could really work with. You could do Grant Dawson to win by submission 3, 4, 5, which is plus 500. You could do Grant Dawson 4 and 5, which is a plus 1,000, which personally I think that's where he does get the job done. I think it goes to a decision, but I think the 4th and the 5th round sways the fight into his hands. 3-2. I think realistically he could be down 1 to 2 rounds going into the 4th and the 5th rounds. You could also do Grant Dawson to win by submission rounds 2, 3, or 4. That's probably the bet that I would make if I was betting, or when I bet. But again, there's a lot of good things here. Method of victory, Grant Dawson by submission is a plus 140. By points is plus 240. Grant Dawson by TKO or KO is a plus 500. I don't think he finishes Bobby Green unless it's a submission. Bobby Green on points is a plus 950. On submission is a plus 1800. Bobby Green by TKO or KO is a plus 600. He throws more punches. He lands more. He's more accurate, especially going backwards, which is crazy. We have seen Grant Dawson been dropped before. Marco Madsen dropped him early in that fight. And again, the style that Dawson wants is to push forward, throw combinations to get underneath, to be able to get your back and try to submit you. Bobby Green is very good at defending those initial takedowns. He's going to have to chain them together. Again, I do think Grant Dawson wins this fight, but it is not a gimme. It is not a lock. The only lock on this card that I see is Ricky Glenn against Drew Dober. I think Drew Dober is an absolute lock. But as always, guys, you could do round props if you think you know the round that it's going to happen. Grant Dawson, round 4, 5, or by decision, which is a pretty good one. You could do Bobby Green rounds 1, 2, or 3 plus 650. Bobby Green 4 and 5 by decision, or you could do Grant Dawson 1, 2, or 3, which is a plus 120. Time wise, there's some crazy ones. Well, if I go the distance, as I said, is an underdog at plus 180. The fight to start round 2, yes, no is a plus 290. Round 5, will a round 5 start? Yes is a plus 130. So they think it's going to be a finish. In probably round 4, which, shocker. But as always, guys, subscribe, like, comment. Let me know what you guys are picking. You guys know what it is. Peace.